Thanks, guys, for joining us. My name's Dr. Dan, and we are extraordinarily lucky today to have Kane Patterson joining us. Kane is Kane's in his 30s, if I'm not mistaken, Kane.
Yep.
And
34.
Kane, sorry,
34.
Kane's a 34-year-old strapping young lad from Chadstone, Melbourne, and Kane's got a remarkable story, and I think it's a story that anyone can draw inspiration from. Kane, at the age of one and a half to 15 years old, he was put into foster care. He's been in over 24 different foster care homes. His mother was a heroin addict, and that's why he was put into foster care. Kane's got one older brother. He's got three younger siblings as well, two younger sisters and a younger brother. Kane is a great example, is a fantastic example of someone you don't have to be defined by your environment, and it doesn't matter where you come from or what category you've been put into. Anything's possible. Thanks for joining us, Kane. How are you going?
I'm great, mate. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So Kane has been recommended to me from a gentleman that I podcast interviewed or video interviewed last week, Shane Kelton. I said to Shane, who do you think's an inspirational? Do you have any inspirational friends who'd be kind enough to have a bit of a chat? And he's recommended Kane. Kane was a plasterer at the age up until the age of about around 25, 26, 27. Kane was a plasterer, and then he made a brave decision. It's not always an easy decision to do, to step out of one trade that you build up so many skills in and go into a completely different trade. A change like that takes a lot of guts, because you're taking 1 to 2 steps backward to take long term many steps forward. Kane self-admittedly has experienced drug addiction in his own life, which I'd like to touch base on today. He's experienced times of where he's never really had a permanent place to stay, not really having a permanent fixed address, staying in friends' homes and stuff like that. Kane himself has drawn on his own experiences to, provide some degree of mentorship and advice to other people going through the same thing. I'm a bit. I don't really know where to start, Kane. I could never relate to a mother having a heroin addiction. How has that affected your outlook on life?
As a youngster, it didn't really affect my outlook on life. It was when I got older and I realised what she was doing and the effects it was having on my family that it started to affect me. Because when you're young, it's just that's life. It's normal. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Mum's asleep on the couch again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you grow up, you don't have a basis of comparison, do you? You don't know what's normal and what's abnormal. You just accept the current state of affairs. You accept the status quo. And it's not, as you said, until you get a bit older that you realise, maybe the way I live isn't common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So what age specifically, or what exposure did you have? And what age were you when you realised, maybe what Mum's doing and the impact she's having isn't normal?
I'd have to say it would be around about 12 or 13. I started realising, my mum is not like other mums.
Yep.
She's not. Other mums would look after their kids and stuff like that, and because I'm in and out of foster care and mum is asleep on the couch or wherever she is, and I've got to make my own food, that she's not like other parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still have contact with your mum now?
I haven't. Besides her trying to add me on Facebook and Facebook Messenger me. I haven't had any contact with her for, God, at least 8 years.
Yeah. And has she tried to make contact with you? Have you not reciprocated? Have you not tried to...
I just block her.
Yeah.
There's, when I met my dad, when I was about nearly turning 17, when I met him, he said to me, anything in life that's holding you back or having a negative influence on your life, you've got to get rid of. And she was the biggest and main thing that was having the most impact on my life. So unfortunately she had to go. I know that sounds bad, but
yeah.
Would
you ever consider talking to her again?
There would have to be a lot of things that would happen before I decided to let her back into my life. Yeah.
Like what?
Well, whenever we went back with Mum, like when we got taken off her and then we went back with her, she always demonstrated that she could stay clean for however amount of time it was required for DHS to say you can have your kids back. But there would have to be some long-term proof that she's clean and she's got her act up, like back together and stuff, for me to even consider talking to her again or letting her back into my life. Just because I've been hurt so much, every time she's come back into my life or my brothers and sisters' life, she's fucked something up.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I'm in such a good place right now that I don't want to potentially let her back in and she'd go haywire again, you know? Yeah.
And so you said, did you meet your dad for the first time at 17 years old?
I think he left when I was about to turn 1. So when I say met him, like I can't remember when I was 1 year old. So yeah, but around the age of 16, 17, I met him. That was pretty cool.
Are you still in contact with your dad?
Yeah, we're best friends now. We're not father and son. We're more like friends that have known each other for 20 years or whatever. So yeah.
And has he had any association with drugs or drug addiction or destructive drug seeking behaviour or anything like that?
He used to when he was with my mum and when he was younger, but he's had his own sort of rehab. He went into the army and cleaned his act up, and now he's a computer programmer, like builds internet sites and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And
would you say he's had a high impact on you, a moderate or a low or an insignificant impact on how you are today as a man? Has he had an impact on you, or do you think you've just figured most of it out from other people? You figured it out yourself along the way?
That's kind of hard to measure, because when he did come back into my life, he was very at the point where it's like, listen, I haven't been there for the first 16 years of your life. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to give you advice, and then you do whatever you want with it. And some of the advice he's given me has been great, and like obviously the one bit of advice he gave me to get rid of negative things in my life has worked really well. So yeah.
So growing up, I mean, I don't claim to be an oracle or an expert in child development, but I feel that, you know, a large part, I mean, there might be partly a genetic component as to what makes us who we are, but I think obviously our environment plays a massive impact. And like the younger you are, I feel, the more pivotal and the more important it is. Sorry, just 1 second. I've just got someone at the door here. Sorry.
Yep, you're right.
Brother, there's a spare room in there. edit that part out. Edit out. So growing up, as I said, I don't feel like I'm the oracle, or I'm the expert of child development, but I feel that, you know, the younger you are, the more important and the more dramatic the impact is from who you hang around. And 17 years old, I mean, if you hang around someone at 5 years old, like you have a mentor or a role model, and you hang around someone when you're 17 years old, the mentor that you have at 5 years old has a more dramatic impact. And the longer you go on in with life, the more ingrained you are into certain ways, and the more difficult, not impossible, but the more difficult it is to change. So for you, going into a foster home between the age of 1 and 15, did you have, I mean, are you who you are today because of your genetic component, or did you have some leaders and mentors and, you know, people in those foster cares that, you know, were there other outside people like that had an impact on you?
The biggest impact on my life, right through it, has been my nan and pop. They are, I class them as my mum and dad, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because through everything we've been through, they were there through the whole thing, and they were our, what do you call it, like a stable, people that were there, they cared, they always helped. If shit went down and stuff went wrong, they were always there, and they were always the, I don't know how to explain this, the shining light in the darkness, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
they sounded like a rock, like a stable stable reference point.
Yep.
How do you think you would have turned out if you didn't have your nan and pop? If you had to guess.
I don't think I would be here. That's the easiest way to put it, because there's a lot of situations that my brother's told me about that I can't remember, where nan and pop would come and pull us out of mum's house because she would, you know, be out on the couch, or there'd be heaps of people partying, taking heaps of drugs or something, stuff like that. So
it's yeah. And so, like, have you got kids yourself, Kane?
No.
And
not that I know of.
Yeah. If you were to theoretically, if you were to imagine one day having kids, how does your upbringing, the way you've grown up living your life, how do you think that will impact you as a father? Would there be anything you would do or you wouldn't do as a parent if you had kids?
I really want to have kids. I am the person in the relationship that wants them. My girlfriend is a bit undecided. I want them because I want to give them every chance that I never had.
Yeah.
And I've had an excellent role model on how not to be a parent. So I will pretty much do everything the opposite to what my mum did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you spoil your kids if you I don't know what your current financial situation is, but let's say hypothetically you were certainly extraordinarily wealthy. Would you spoil them and give them everything they wanted because you didn't have that?
I wouldn't spoil them. I would try and teach them to earn certain things.
Yeah.
Like if it's something that's important to them, they, you know, do well at school or do some yard work or something like that to ingrain in them that if they want something, they have to go out and get it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Is that the right answer?
Mate, there is no right answer here. We're not. These aren't loaded questions. When I ask you the question, I'm interested in you. Our opinions are merely opinions, and no opinion is more or less valid than the others.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm quite. It's quite an interesting answer, and the reason why is because I know my friends girlfriend used to go to school, and she didn't have a fortunate upbringing. Her parents, I think, were alcoholics, and when she went to school, she pretty much almost went to school with like no lunch, like that kind of upbringing. And when I spoke to her and I said, how would that impact your upbringing? She said, I want to get, because her and my friend are doing very well financially at the moment. She says, I'm going to give them everything. And it's interesting because the generational cycles, from what I've seen, I could be wrong overall, but from what I've seen, kids that are brought up and, their parents have come over from Europe, they had nothing, they came here with $2 and no shoes. You've heard the story. They come here, they spoil their kids excessively. The kids become entitled. They don't generate the work ethic or the appreciation to earn what they have, and then it happens in alternating cycles. So the entitled kids that don't earn anything end up having kids themselves, and then those kids had nothing. Then they learn the value of work ethic, and then they spoil the next gen, almost in a second or every second or third generation. So I had an expectation for you right then to say, yes, I would spoil my kids and give them everything.
Maybe when they're like really young, be like, here you go. But as soon as they get to an age where it's like, okay, you can start doing little things around the house to earn pocket money or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then, that can accumulate and you can get an Xbox.
Yeah.
And then I'll play the Xbox with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's where the fine line comes in, like it's a grey area. At what point do you make the exact cutoff? All right, you're 5 years old exactly now, or you're 11 years old. You all of a sudden, and then you've got to go as the dad, and the mum to completely change your ways, and the child's like, but dad, and then there's that, oh well, just have it.
Yeah.
That might be the predicament that parents find themselves in. They say they're going to do something. Yeah. And then that fine line grey area kicks in and they go, oh, it's just too easy. Just give the kid that. I've been doing it. They're used to it. And then that's where that probably, what you originally said you were going to discipline yourself in, just become, potentially too difficult. Not saying you'd end up like that, but...
I think my girlfriend might.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a softie.
Yeah. And even on that note, my girlfriend's a softie, and if you were to be the hard one, I guess that's one of the benefits about having parents that are together, is that not only do you get a masculine and a feminine role model, one plays almost the good cop and the bad cop, and also, parents, they take on, I'll give you an example. When you're like, when I'm by myself at home, I might be really organised, but then I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend if I was that way inclined, and I go from being really clean, and then I get a partner that I live with, and then I become really messy because then my partner becomes really clean. It's funny how humans, and I don't know if you've seen it, but humans can act, and you see it all the time. You see it in group settings. Like, I act differently when I'm by myself compared to when I'm with another person, compared to when I'm with a group of people. Humans are so socially complex that when we are in different size groups, we take on different roles.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's odd.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it depends on how the other people behave. So you might be a softie like your girlfriend when you're by yourself, but then, if you and your partner have a kid, you take on the hard role, and then your partner takes on the softer role. So it demonstrates the importance of parenthood, doesn't it? That yin yang, two sides of the coin type thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big softie with my girlfriend because she lifts weights. She'd probably beat me up.
So at the age, tell me, you were a plasterer, right? And at the age of around, so how many years had you been doing plastering for?
I did it for about, let's say 2 years with a friend that I was living with in Upway.
Yeah.
And then I moved back in with my nan for a while after my pop passed away. And I lived with her for a while, couldn't hold down a job there, and then had to move out of there.
Yeah.
And I moved down into Pakenham and started plastering with a guy who is now one of my best friends, and I was the best man at his wedding. And I was a plasterer for about 4.5, 5 years with him.
Yeah. So you built up a skill on how to plaster, because not anyone can plaster. You know, you've got it's not a simple thing to do. It does take some time to build up that skill, and that skill is something that you can get money for.
Yes.
That's why plasterers get paid more than, you know, a basic labourer. So what was going through you? How long was it going through your head where you were considering going to be a personal trainer? How long were you thinking about it before you made the move?
Well, I was still an active drug addict during this period when I was plastering with my mate Jamie, and it was probably about 3.5 years my self recovery. So I put myself through my own recovery. I had help from everywhere, but I didn't check into any rehab joints or anything. And I was working with him. I started going to the gym halfway through it, and then once I started going to the gym, I started falling in love with lifting weights, eating what I thought was good food back then, and then I just slowly started swapping one addiction for another, and fortunately the gym was something that I fell in love with, and I was just like, I can turn this into a career, and it can be for the rest of my life. Like, yeah.
I mean, you say that right now, and on your right hand side, on the screen's left, you've got yeah, I can tell that that's your mantra.
Yeah, so that's it's a lot of people think the symbol is what it means from Hitler days, but it's not. It's actually got a barbell in the middle of it, and it's like it's what I use to bring myself out of that bad life. So it sort of symbolises what I've done. So that, I don't know if that's what it.
Did you design that yourself?
Sort of. I got a guy at a meeting that I used to go to do it for me, and I told him about my life, and that's what he came back with me. Back to me with, and I was like, oh, I like that. That's really good.
That's awesome. So you're in a job, you know, you built up a skill, you fell in love with the gym, going through your own rehab, and I want to talk about that more in a second.
Okay.
But was it nerve-wracking, or, you know, like, did you just quit plastering completely and go straight into PT, or did you gradually do a little bit of PT on the side and gradually develop it into a full-time job? How did you make that transition? Was it scary?
It was definitely scary. I'd never done anything for myself quite like this. It was the hardest part was actually finding a place to work, because I was very honest. Like, they asked about my past and my history, and I would tell them, or I would have in like application forms to work in gyms that I'm a recovered drug addict, and a lot of people wouldn't even call me back. They were like, no, sorry, and hang up. So it was very hard to get a position in a gym to actually work, until I got a break from another guy who I'm now good friends with, Jose Thomas. He gave me a break. He said, yeah, come in for an interview. And I went in for an interview, and it's actually a funny story, because when I went in, first thing I said to him is like, oh, how long is this going to take, because I've got to go see the police after this. And he's like, that's not something you say in an interview, mate. And, yeah, and then from there I just went into building my own business and my own career.
So you said, so what did you actually have to go to the police station for?
I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was for, I believe it was for some fines and stuff and outstanding warrants and that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty.
I mean, look, I love the honesty. I really do. I really mean that. But when you said I have to go to the police station, were you thinking like, were you trying to self-sabotage yourself, or were you unaware that were you just unaware that it could potentially ruin your chance at getting the job?
I think I'm too honest at times. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think in the back of my head I shouldn't say this because people will think differently of me. I'm just more like, I'm going to say this and I don't care what people think. So that's who I am, and that was my life, and at that stage that was part of me bettering my life. So like, if Jose had said, oh no, sorry, you're not the person for us, I would have been like, okay, cool, see you later.
Yeah. I think people that, like people that take drugs, and I'm certainly not justifying, or I'm not defending people that take drugs by any means, but they do tend to be categorized into a certain type of person. And it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're a gambler, whether you're a drug addict, whether you're an alcoholic, whether you're, a kleptomaniac, someone who's addicted to steal, whatever. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And like, you don't. And I think a lot of people that do take drugs or alcohol or whatever, society has told them that they're a certain type of person because they do a certain type of habit, and that they're a bad person.
They demonized it.
They demonize it, and they let that feed into their own subconscious, and they think, just because you've been prone to having a drug addictive, type of lifestyle and behavior, you haven't let, there's people that don't do drugs that are pathological liars. I think that's far more poisonous. I think what's much more poisonous than any of the above things that I've mentioned is a disgusting attitude, a deceitful, untrustworthy attitude. I mean, my heart warms at your unconditional honesty, and that should be commended.
Thank you.
Like, regardless, whether we've been on, drugs or not. The fact that you're an honest person is amazing, and I think it's fantastic. What
people don't understand is addiction is addiction. Like, I work with people that have food addiction. That is, it's just as bad as drugs. Like, it's still killing them. And I tell my story, and even though their addiction is not drugs, or they've never ever touched drugs in their whole life, they can draw inspiration from it because they know that they're addicted to food. And it's like, they're very similar, like the addiction pathways and what your body tells you, but it's just a different, what do you call it, substance, let's call it
It's
that.
a different substance. It's a different pathway. You're less like intoxicated or whatever, but I mean, it still has an impact on your health. You could possibly die younger, but you could be an honest drug addict, or you could be a pathologically lying McDonald's addict. I'd probably almost rather be an honest drug addict, to be honest. I'll probably end up, the food might even kill you quicker than the drugs. I'm not defending drugs. Absolutely not. Drugs are Drugs are potentially dangerous, and they are commonly destructive for a lot of people. But it's a multitude of factors. So the help that you got when you were going through your own self-rehab, where did you seek help? What services? I mean, for anyone that's watching that is possibly going through a drug or a food or an alcohol, what are some kind of services people can reach out to, and what did you do personally?
I didn't use any services then, no rehab joints, no nothing like that. Mine was, first of all, I had to make the decision to change. I had to look at myself really hard and go, I don't like where my life is going. I don't like where I'm at the moment, and I could potentially die on the streets. So I had to look at myself and go, I need to change. And that was very hard to do, because then I had to admit that I was the problem. And then from there was a lot of help from friends. There was a lot of help from family. As I said, I didn't really go to any rehab joints or anything like that. So I can't really give any advice on that, sorry.
Yeah. And nonetheless, obviously what we're talking about right now does not replace professional medical advice.
No, definitely not.
But there's, just to hear your experience, I think, hopefully people can gain something from it. But there are some fantastic services out there available, like online and phone counselling services that people can access for free.
I've heard that most of the people that work in the rehab joints and stuff like that are actually recovered drug addicts themselves.
Yeah.
So they have that real life experience that you can draw on. So definitely, if someone is stuck in that situation and they can't see a way out of it, reach out to anyone that's been there and done it, or that can help you, like the rehab joints and stuff like that. Definitely.
It certainly makes it a lot easier for you. I mean, if you do have some sort of destructive habit, it certainly helps to be able to talk to someone that's been there before and that can relate to you. It makes it makes you feel like you're less stigmatized, makes you feel more comfortable. AA meetings and NA meetings are extraordinarily helpful. I had a friend of mine, one of my best friends that I grew up with, he's been an alcohol and drug abusing individual for almost 2 decades. And he went to AA and NA, and the fact that he was surrounded by like-minded people in a group setting with no stigma on a regular basis, people that can relate, was a massive part of his recovery.
Support network. Support networks are huge, man. Even like for clients of mine trying to lose weight or gain weight, having that right environment around you, the right people behind you, backing you up and supporting you on the way is critical. Anyone who's going through addiction and trying to recover, and they're trying to do it on their own and they're not quite getting there, that could be the one thing that's missing that gets you across the line. Like I had my friends. Because of my childhood, I never had really family there, so friends became essentially my family, and there was a few of them that were helping me quite a lot through it, and family, of course.
They always say you hang around with dogs, you get fleas, or you become a product of your own environment, or your salary or your income is the average of the 5 closest people that you hang around. What we're saying is that whether you're a drug addict, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to build a business, whether you're trying to be a better public speaker, be the most charismatic person you can be, it doesn't matter what it is. Whatever goal that you're trying to achieve, seek out actively people that have been there or are doing it, that are the best at it. Make contact with them on a regular basis, discipline yourself to do so, and it will make that process so much easier for you. A fantastic example, and something that I'm doing at the moment locally, is I'm starting a chess boxing club. Now, I've got a mentor of mine who's been a social worker for 45 years, helps a lot of people out in West Melbourne. He started a sporting club. His name's Les Twentyman, very well connected. He started a sporting club called the Redskins Basketball Club. 600 people, disadvantaged kids from high risk areas, and sport is fantastic for kids that might feel a little bit lost. Let's say there are kids and they are a bit high risk and they may not necessarily want to recover themselves from drug addiction, or they may not want to build a big business. I think sport's really good for something like that. You hang around with people. You've got a coach who's almost like a little mini mentor in a soft kind of way. You know, you're hanging around with people. It's good structure, good social skills. Even just trying to take up a sport. If you want to get yourself out of a toxic environment, like yourself, growing up and all that, and your mum, when you got to that age of 15, 16, and you didn't want to, you found yourself in a sport, and it kind of helped bring you out of it, and then you became, sport is probably, one of the most underrated instruments for childhood development in so many different ways.
Well, it's social, man, and like most of the people that play a sport, regardless of what it is, they're very positive. They're like up-picking, and you become a part of that environment, and you sort of, you learn to be that better person, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
You do. You're a better you become a team player. You become encouraging. You learn about leadership. You learn about respect for your opponent. Learning to accept defeat and keep picking yourself up moving forward.
Yep. A good example of this actually is my brother. So my brother started playing football when he was younger, and he went through his whole life playing sports. He's just your typical person, has a career, has a business, has a family now, and completely opposite paths we went once we got separated as kids. So.
It's an inspiration. Your story is inspirational, and so now you've got your own PT gym at the moment, and your own private studio in Chadstone. Kane has his own private PT studio in Chadstone, and you're currently looking at converting it all online. So, just I guess not talking about drugs and difficult upbringings and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about what, from a business standpoint, someone that might want to get a bit of value in terms of business development. What is it exactly that you're doing? How are you doing it?
Well, we've got an online coaching program through the company that we're certified in, the course that we're certified in, and that is pretty much the basis of our program with clients. But it's all the back end stuff that we're doing via social media and like our website and stuff like that. It does my head in trying to figure it all out. But YouTube is my best friend when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I just sit down, I learn how to do something, and then put it into practice, and everything is geared towards online, like social media, everything.
People that want to start an online business, I've got a question for you. You're in the process of doing it. Let's say I was to sit here and say to you, Kane, you need to go out and get a real job. Having an online business isn't realistic. You're being a dreamer. It's not going to work. What would your response to that be?
My online part of my business makes more money than my face-to-face business at the moment. So
yeah.
And I essentially work not even one day a week on it. So
yeah,
there you go.
So it's possible. It's possible. All those ads that I sometimes get these ads pop up saying, you can live your life on your terms, all that kind of thing. Perhaps it's not as spammy as what you might think. It is possible. Kane has just stated that he makes more money online than he does. The world has already been skewed and will continue to skew into an online scene. It's possible. It's possible to create your own, your life on your own terms and get paid for it. And this it's not gimmicky. We're not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah. It doesn't happen overnight though. It's taken the good part of 5-6 years to get to this stage.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally getting to the stage where the face-to-face business is getting really small and the online business keeps growing and growing. It gives me the ability to play video games for like 5 hours a day. So, yeah.
And you know what? Who's to say that there's anything wrong with that? It's your life. It's you. Kane lives Kane's life. Daniel lives Daniel's life. Society tells us that we're supposed to live life a certain way. Nobody has any right under any circumstance to tell us how to live our lives. They've got their lives. They're entitled to live it how they like. And my advice to any young person listening is, while it's good to listen to all, don't ever let anyone tell you how to live your life. It's your journey. We only get one. Do it how make mistakes, try new things, and I just
do what makes you happy and fuck everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, we're all going to be buried, getting eaten by caterpillars or cremated into a gas in the sky anyway. So it doesn't matter. No one's going to remember us anyway. And if people do remember us, I mean, there are some people in history that people do remember, like Einstein. You know what I mean? But when Kane goes to bed at night, and when Dan goes to bed at night, the last person that we're thinking about is Einstein. So even if we were remembered anyway, who cares? As long as you have a good life and you enjoy yourself, and one day when your life flashes before your eyes and you look back and reflect on your life, hopefully you have as minimal regrets as possible, and you say, I'm so glad I did that, not I wish I did that.
Yeah.
What I love about Kane, and I think this is a fantastic example for anyone that's watching, is what he said before when he spoke about creating an online business. I mean, you're a plasterer. You've got pretty much no experience in computer at all, but you are being resourceful in yourself, and you're utilizing one of the most fantastic inventions in the 21st and 20th century, the internet. You're going out and you're finding the answers yourself. You're finding out how to do the back end things. You're finding out all the solutions and how to create an online business. And I'm sure most of the information you're getting is free, or do you have to pay for it?
So I am someone that can identify when I'm crap at something, and I know if something is going to help me in life and I'm not good at it, I need to get someone to show me how to do it. So I have a business mentor that takes me through how to set everything up and how to do what I need to do to get to where I want to be. And the important part is that he's done it all himself before. So, yeah.
Self-awareness, identifying your weaknesses, identifying what you should and need to be doing better, and finding the answers from there. You don't have to know everything. You'll never be able to know everything.
Definitely not, man. There's a lot of things I don't know, but if I don't, as I said, if I don't know something, I go out and find out how to do it. And then once you learn how to do it, it's like, okay, I know that. It's not a problem anymore. So
it's not about. I agree with you there. It's not about how much you know. You just have to know where to find it when you need to.
Yeah.
In fact, the more you learn, the more you realise that you don't know. And but yeah, I think self-awareness is the key. So look, Kane, honestly, this has been one of my favourite video interviews that I've done. I've really enjoyed my time, and I sincerely thank you, and everyone watching sincerely thanks you for the time and the story that you've shared with us today.
Cool. Thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone for watching.
So, if anyone wants to find you, or reach out to you, or someone that's feel like they can relate to you in any kind of way, where can people find you? Where's your online business? Where can you just give yourself a plug?
So the website is liftforlife.com.au. The number 4 in it. My Facebook, if that's where I'm mostly active, is Kane Patterson.
Yeah.
And our business page on Facebook, if people want to get me through there, is Lift for Life Transformations.
Lift for life transformations.
Yep.
Yeah. And at the start you said Lift for Life. What was the first thing? Is that your website?
Yeah, liftforlife.com.au. That's my website.
So LIFT, the number 4, life.com.au, and people can find you as Kane Patterson. I'm sure there's 100 Kane Pattersons on Facebook.
It'll have PT at Lift for Life written under it.
Yeah. Honestly, you are an absolute champion. I'm so glad we connected. I've gotten so much out of this personally for me.
Thank you.
I just want to say a massive thanks, Kane.
Cool. Thank you very much for having me, man. That was awesome.
Honestly, the pleasure's mine. All right, well, you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.